The movie begins with a steamed bun seller named Chan who is busy serving the buyers.
雞包賣晒啊，饅頭啊！
下面仲有啊！
At that time, a grandmother and her grandson named Chung Wing bought bread from him. But Chan fell in love the first time he saw Wing, so he couldn't stop staring at her. This, of course, made the grandmother feel annoyed that Chan was constantly staring at her grandson.
雞包啊，死仔！當我插爆你對眼！
兩個饅頭啊！
要咩啊？包人啦！
From then on, Chan took the time to see his idol in the neighborhood where Wing went to school. One night, Chan sees the grandmother looking for Wing because she has not returned home since noon. Chan decides to help and searches all over the village. After a while, he finally finds Wing, who was lost near a hill. Chan takes Wing back to her grandmother.
死仔啊！帶我去邊度啊？個死仔帶你去山腰，
我自己去。
俾件又爛又臭嘅衫你着。
It turns out that Wing has a mental disability, so she sometimes forgets the way home and behaves a bit unusually, but Chan does not mind because he truly loves her.
死仔，死仔，你同我出嚟！你件衫啊，幾耐冇洗過啊？累我補咗成晚，過咗幾次水啊！
A few days later, Chan does not see Wing or her grandmother, so he becomes worried and decides to check on them. After finishing his bread sales, he heads to Wing's house. To his surprise, there is a crowd outside, including the police and social services. It turns out that Wing's grandmother had passed away 3 days ago, and Wing was found lying next to her. People believed Wing's mental health had worsened, so they intended to take her to a mental hospital. That night, Chan sneaks into the hospital where Wing is being treated. Fortunately, Wing is in a ward at the back, so Chan manages to help her escape. He takes her to a gaming arcade to lift her spirits because she is feeling down. It turns out that Wing also has feelings for Chan. After they both calm down a bit, Chan takes Wing to her apartment. Unfortunately, when they arrive, the police have locked the apartment. Chan is about to break the door when suddenly a woman named Lan, who lives next door to Wing, appears. She feels sorry for Wing and invites them into her place. Inside, Lan tells them she will be away for a few days and offers Chan and Wing a place to stay. They find out that Lan is a prostitute, and she even gives Chan the freedom to do as he pleases.
我就去個客度，今晚啊喺度瞓啦，有氣力㗎嘛，明唔明啊？
Once Lan leaves, Chan accidentally sees Wing taking a shower. However, he chooses to step out to find some food around the apartment. That is when things take a terrible turn. A few minutes after Chan leaves, Wing finishes showering when there is a sudden knock on the bedroom door. Thinking it is Chan, Wing opens the door, but it turns out to be an unknown man named Quackwah. He barges in and pulls out some money, thinking Wing is one of Lan's prostitutes. He then heartlessly abuses Wing, even though she looks terrified. Fortunately, Chan, who is across the street, sees Quackwah from a window. He rushes back and does not hesitate to confront and beat Quackwah. Eventually, they both manage to escape from the apartment. After that, they decide it is time to go to the local police and report what Quackwah had done. When they get there, they meet the deputy police chief named Jeff. He asks Chan to step into another room while he and some of his officers speak with Wing. One of the older policemen, Gu, realizes that Wing has a mental disability and reassures them that they do not need to worry. Jeff and his team then begin questioning Wing about the person who had harmed her. Wing describes the perpetrator as a man with a star tattoo on his right hand.
唔使驚㗎，除咗件褸俾我啊！誒，係咯。
拎件褸去證物房，慢慢話俾我哋聽，發生啲咩事？
扯到去邊度啊？呢個胸圍咧？
係黑色嘅星，邊隻手？
右手。
However, as they delve deeper into the details, they're shocked to discover that the perpetrator is none other than Quackwah, their own police chief and superior. Quackwah is also present at the police station and overhears what Wing is saying.
阿頭啊，咩料啊？
同我及撚住兩仔，
嗰個啊？
根本係玲姐隻女嚟㗎，隻雞嚟啦！夾埋僆仔係襲警，而家翻咗嚟屈我俾大2球㗎，俾撚晒錢㗎啦！你未試過叫外賣翻嚟玩嘢咩嚇？蝕招條仔。
After that, Quackwah gathers all his subordinates, including Jeff, and tells them that he believed Wing was a prostitute, which led him to harass her without hesitation. In an attempt to cover up what he had done, Quackwah instructs everyone to stay quiet and begins falsely accusing Chan as if he were the culprit. About 30 minutes later, Quackwah's men begin bombarding Chan with numerous questions, making him feel cornered. During this stressful moment, Chan accidentally notices a photo of Quackwah on the table and realizes that the police are planning to frame him. In a desperate bid to escape with Wing, Chan makes an attempt, but unfortunately, it does not work out. They subject him to torture, and to make matters worse, the police even abuse Wing right in front of Chan, taking satisfaction in their cruel actions. Following that, they begin fabricating a story, making it seem like Chan had forcibly taken a police gun. They plant the gun in an unconscious Chan's hand. Meanwhile, they threaten Wing, warning her not to utter a word or they will imprison Chan. During the trial, the police stick to their false narrative as planned. Consequently, Chan ends up serving a 6-month prison sentence, accused of assaulting law enforcement officers.
該名男子同一單爆色案有關。
23歲男子陳傑襲警，依例判處6個月有期徒。
While incarcerated, Chan is observed persistently attempting to remove his fingerprints, clearly plotting something for when he is released. After 6 months, Chan is released from prison. He waits for Wing, but when he sees her, he cannot help but cry. It turns out Wing is pregnant due to what the police officers had done. Anyone would be deeply hurt in their shoes. Wing tries to put on a brave face to help Chan move on. A few days later, they find some happiness being together again. However, Chan's grudge against the police officers still burns within him, and he is determined to seek revenge. One day, he follows a pregnant woman who happens to be one of the police officers' wives. After she finishes shopping and returns home, her husband, Ting, is suddenly attacked by Chan.
老婆，老婆。
A few days later, the police receive a report from residents about a foul-smelling plastic bag found by divers in the river. They take the bag to the police station for examination and are horrified to discover crushed baby fetuses inside. To their shock, they also find Ting's ID card in the bag, so they rush to Ting's house. Upon arrival, Ting is nowhere to be found. Their shock deepens when they find Ting's wife dead, with her stomach split open, but there is no fetus inside.
元朗水尾村發生命案，一個孕婦被劏開腹部攞走胎兒，因為失血過多致死。另外，警方正聯絡死者嘅丈夫協助調查。
This confirms that the bag in the river contained Ting's unborn child. At the same time, Gu, who has recently returned home with his pregnant wife, is startled when he notices her staring out the window. About 30 minutes later, Gu attempts to reach out to one of his fellow police officers, but when his colleague answers, Gu remains silent, causing his colleague to sense that something is wrong. In no time, other police colleagues rush to Gu's house. They are left in shock when they find Gu's wife dead with her stomach split open, mirroring the previous case. To make matters worse, they discover Gu lifeless in a hot tub. At this point, Jeff suspects that these incidents might be the work of Chan, seeking revenge against them.
繼元朗水尾村發生孕婦剖腹謀殺案，喺呢一間村屋發現一個32歲嘅人。
News of these serial murders, with police officers as victims, spreads across national TV. Authorities initiate a thorough search by inspecting all vehicles entering and leaving the city. Before long, they stop the bus that Chan is on. Fearing Jeff's suspicion, Chan decides to slip away unnoticed.
企喺度！喂，你企度啊！
Unfortunately, Jeff catches up with him, leading to a chase, and Chan is eventually arrested and taken to an interrogation room. At this point, Chan finds himself subjected to torture by Jeff and one of his accomplices. They're determined to make Chan confess to his alleged crimes in front of their colleagues. Despite the torment, Chan decides to stay silent, which only fuels their resolve to continue tormenting him. Frustrated by Chan's refusal to admit guilt, Jeff even contemplates shooting Chan in the head, but Chan remains resolute in his silence. Meanwhile, back at home, Wing watches the news on TV reporting Chan's arrest on charges of killing a police officer and his family. This news deeply disappoints Wing because it means they will be separated from their loved one. Wing attempts to contact the police, but for some reason, drops the phone. Subsequently, Wing enters the bathroom with the intention of ending the pregnancy using a knife. Afterward, Wing is seen disposing of a knife in a water channel. Back at the police station, Jeff is on the verge of taking drastic action against Chan, but suddenly a police captain arrives from headquarters and is furious with Jeff.
你兩個癲㗎！你兩個出嚟！
大 Sir， 一定係佢。
係佢。
大 Sir， 我而家仲有手足未揾返，條僆仔一定有嘢。
The captain informs Jeff that they have apprehended the wrong person because the actual serial killer has recently targeted a pregnant woman, namely Wing. This indicates that Wing had deliberately staged the situation to clear Chan of any wrongdoing. Recognizing that Jeff and his team had violated protocol, the captain promptly reprimands them. The captain then questions Chan about why he fled during the police raid. Chan explains that he had been falsely trapped by police officers before. Given this information and the lack of evidence, Chan is eventually cleared of all charges.
呢個平時再發現多單，我俾人講，要錯人係講證據嘅，呢單嘢你唔使跟啊。點解警方查車你要走？
工作得未？
哇，姐夫，咁輪打翻嚟嘅？
老鬼全家死咗，丁仔揾唔翻。半年前單嘢記唔記得？條僆仔追咗我哋嚟打。
你自己小心。
Meanwhile, Jeff's subordinate suggests confessing the truth to the police captain, revealing Chan's true motive for seeking revenge against them. However, Jeff vehemently refuses, as it would mean damaging their own pride. In the meantime, Jeff and his colleagues attempt to contact Kwak-Wa, the retired police chief. Jeff informs Kwak-Wa about their plan to eliminate Chan and Wing as quickly as possible. Chan devises a plan to rescue Wing from the hospital before the police can harm them. However, just as Chan and Wing are about to make their escape, Jeff catches up to them, sparking a frantic chase.
僆仔去咗黃鶴山，上緊油站條，你去油站接佢，今晚都唔可以俾佢殺。
Jeff's men are instructed to intercept the ambulance that Chan is using. During one encounter, Jeff's men locate Chan's vehicle and open fire, causing it to crash into a gas station. This leads to a heated brawl between the two sides. Shortly after, Jeff arrives and attempts to ram his car into Chan. Fortunately, Chan manages to evade the collision, and the chase continues. Ultimately, Jeff catches up to Chan and begins beating him. In a desperate moment, Chan stumbles upon an iron plate and, without hesitation, uses it to strike back, fatally injuring Jeff. The following day, Kwak-Wa locates Wing in an ambulance. Without hesitation, he shoots Wing, who is still unconscious at the time. Afterwards, Kwak-Wa fires his gun into the air to lure Chan, who had been unconscious the previous night. Hearing the gunshots, Chan, who has just regained consciousness, stirs and attempts to approach Kwak-Wa, who, eager to conclude matters swiftly, shoots Chan with his gun until it runs out of bullets. Kwak-Wa then tells Chan that if he manages to survive, they should meet again 5 years later. Kwak-Wa, who is still haunted by guilt for what he did to Wing and Chan, now lives in a different city and works as a teacher. Additionally, Kwak-Wa frequently appears on national TV, volunteering for religious and charity causes. On the flip side, Chan is still alive and comes across a TV broadcast featuring Kwak-Wa. Now, he knows where Kwak-Wa is and plans to exact his revenge. Before heading to confront Kwak-Wa, Chan shaves his head. In short, Chan goes to see Kwak-Wa, who is teaching children to play the piano. When Kwak-Wa sees Chan, he invites him for coffee and tries to make amends, asking for forgiveness for his mistakes. However, Chan, consumed by revenge, does not hesitate to end Kwak-Wa's life right then and there. At the end of the story, Chan and Wing continue their life together. Wing survives, but she now uses a wheelchair due to being shot in the leg by Kwak-Wa.